Hello, YouTube. Welcome on in. My name is Chris.
My name is Johnny.
We are your number one entrance for sports entertainment content here on YouTube. We're back, episode 2 of the podcast. A little bit different than what we were doing last time, rather than, fantasy booking an entire ass pay per view. It'll be more talking what's kind of planned for upcoming pay per views for both AEW, WWE, maybe speculating a little bit on it, probably a little fantasy booking because that's just who we are,
That's
honestly.
kind of what we do. We'll throw two people in a ring and be like, this could work because of this. But
Mhm.
usually, it won't happen.
So yeah,
But
so yeah,
no,
it's
go
going to be
right ahead.
interesting because we're covering most of today is going to be covering Road to Mania, a little bit of what might be happening at Elimination Chamber, a lot of what went down on the press conference, and then for AEW side of things, one of Tony Khan's 57 big announcements of big business as well as the Road to Revolution. So yeah,
Can I
we'll. Uh,
can I just say off the top before we get into this fully, stop making announcements about announcements. Just make announcements.
Yeah, because at this point it's such a joke, right? Like it has become
It it
such
has become
such a
a
thing to poke
meme.
fun of.
Yeah, I you could put it on Twitter that next week he's gonna make an announcement, and then make that announcement the next week. But
Hmm.
don't on national television, Tony Khan next week making an announcement. It's like I'm already gonna
Yeah,
watch next week. Most viewers are gonna watch next week. Do you really need that tiny little spike in viewership for that one moment where again they announce big business, which will be taking place in the TD Gardens? I think 2 weeks from today or 2 weeks from Wednesday.
something like that. Hold on, let me
Yeah.
let me see when AEW Big Business is.
For those unaware, the TD Gardens, of course, is in Boston. Boston.
Yeah, do we want to just
Ooh.
start with that then? We'll cover AEW
We
first then.
can because it's not gonna be, like, a big thing, I'm guessing, because it's gonna be
Big Business
just
is
a
March
big thing.
13th. Oh, it is post Revolution. I did not
Okay,
realize that.
so 2 weeks after Revolution,
Hmm.
AEW is going to be in the TD Gardens, of course, Boston and everything. There's already big speculation, maybe confirmation, I'm not for sure. I don't ever quote me on factual statements unless we have links and to, show physical proof, like, right here. Mercedes Monet is probably gonna make an appearance
Yeah.
because it's in Boston. There's some graphics have been revealed that it literally says BOSS dollar signs Boston.
Hmm.
I will say, that might not be the only talent we see. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to overwrite Mercedes. Mercedes is a fantastic talent. I'm gonna be excited to see her in AEW, but do you want to talk about the secondary talent that's gonna be coming in?
Yeah, so just to touch on that as well, yeah, it's spelled Boston BO dollar sign TON, but also I'm pretty sure the graphic for big business, the last two S's are dollar signs as well.
Yeah, so they are
So like
complimenting on the
they're
double
they're
S's.
really they're really pushing that idea of like, we're gonna see Mercedes, you know, allegedly, again, no idea if it's true, but allegedly she's already been collecting a check from AEW for a little while.
Mhm.
So like she's probably been under contract with them for a little while. Um, and this is just now kind of like, hey, she's actually here.
Yeah,
Now,
which I could definitely see.
yeah. And then obviously, as of recording, either yesterday or the day before was Will Ospreay's last required New Japan show. And he's
Mhm.
already said he's all elite. And once he was done his bookings, he would be here. So I would not be surprised if we see him within the next week or two to
Yeah.
start pushing that because he said he was going to be on the road to Revolution. So that makes me think he's going to be at the pay per view in some
Yeah,
capacity.
I could see
Who
him
he's
doing
fighting, I have no clue. But
because I imagine you could build just something week of, because it's gonna be
yeah,
more about Osprey in the match itself and not, like, immediately starting a rivalry. Because
yeah.
that's the biggest thing. You
Well,
wanna showcase the talent you just got.
what would be interesting is if his first match is him and Copeland.
He has wanted to wrestle Osprey,
Yeah. So if
and
you,
again, the Cope Open
yeah,
might make an appearance at Revolution.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can run that. But the other big one who has been floating around, arguably, I would say probably the biggest free agent that we're going to see this year, unless something crazy happens, which is
Yeah,
Okada.
because as of yesterday around 1:30 Eastern, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, of course, reported that Okada is expected to resign soon to AEW.
Hmm.
There's been a full story and everything. We're not going to go into the details of that, but if he is AEW bound, this is not really a big surprise to me. I don't think it is to you either.
No.
He has ties to the Bucks. He has ties to Kenny. He has ties to a lot of people currently in the company, and I think if this was the promotion he was going to be with, it makes the most sense because again, if you have your boys in the locker room, you're going to go with them instead of the other company.
Well, yeah, and the other thing as well, right, is especially like AEW has never been really like they're not as restrictive with their talent as
Hmm.
WWE is, right?
Yeah.
So Okada would be able to still live in Japan,
Hmm.
come wrestle in America, do the shows he wants to do, and still have the freedom to go back to New Japan or even TNA, which we've seen him show up in TNA since. But
I would love to see that. I think of the recent firings.
yeah, with Demore,
I
probably not. But
Amore recently was let go of TNA. Talent was told he was let go, I believe.
no,
Or
Talent was emailed saying that he would step down,
oh, that is
and then
correct.
the
Talent was
tweet said
told.
he had been terminated.
Yeah, which
So
again, stepping down and terminating two different things
very different.
heavily.
Oh yeah,
So I would like to see a TNA appearance by Okada, but TNA is gonna be TNA, and it's gonna be in a weird place for probably the next until the company shuts its doors
yeah,
because it's TNA.
yeah. It's always kind of had that roller coaster of a history,
Yeah,
but
looking at
yeah,
you, Jet Jarrett.
yeah. But yeah, Okada's the big speculation because I know there's been so many rumors every way. Like I know they say he's expected to be AEW bound. It wouldn't be the weirdest thing in the world if he showed up at Big Business because you have then, the boss in Boston, but also the Rainmaker, right? Like both have a gimmick that circulates around the concept of currency and money, which means
Mhm.
both showing up wouldn't be bad. On top of that, it's not like AEW hasn't done the double debut before. They did it with Adam Cole
Daniel.
Danielson. Like,
Yeah. Do you think again? Because I don't, I have no knowledge on this. Is he allowed to keep his music though, and like the stuff from New Japan?
I would
Is that
assume
all?
so.
I'm just curious because again, New Japan has always worked differently than most companies, so I imagine so. I
Yeah.
imagine he's still gonna be the Rainmaker and everything, but I would be curious if he doesn't, because Okada will carry the weight of the entire thing, like the namesake
Oh,
at
oh
least.
yeah.
So I think he's gonna be okay no matter what. I'm curious if the Rainmaker moniker will follow.
I would assume so only because of the fact like AEW's got a pretty good relationship with New Japan.
Hmm.
They've shown him on TV as Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker. He's come out with his music. He's come out with the fake money entrance before because he did that at Wrestle Dream,
This is
right?
true, yeah.
So like if they've done the effort to take that much of the gimmick for an appearance,
Hmm.
and it's not like TK's doesn't have the money to either buy out the rights or lease the rights to all of that stuff. If the other thing, if Osprey's coming out to Elevated just to do the All Elite announcement, I'm pretty confident they've got a pretty good deal going for that.
I can agree to that. I can agree to that. Before we pivot to Revolution, do you want to talk about a little bit of what's currently happening with the company? And this is specifically the the Combat Club versus a certain promotion itself.
Yeah, so this is the other one that we were talking about this the other day. So over probably the last week and a half worth of product that they've put out, they've had a lot of interactions with a handful of the luchadors from CMLL, which is a promotion
Mhm.
based out of, I believe it is just Mexico City, Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in and around Mexico City. Um, and it's literally just a pure luchador promotion. Ooh, pardon me. And so they had essentially, it was like they had a couple of them show up and do a match with a handful of them in the crowd. Tensions got built. The luchadors from the crowd hopped the barricade, started to attack Mox. This also led to Danielson and one of them in a singles match on Collision, and then has since now built to what I think they're going to probably push is Combat Club CMLL. And basically, literally Danielson, Yuta, Claudio, Mox versus four of the Luchas. But
Hmm.
the thing that's stuck out to me is the fact that after one of the matches, Mox was on his own. It was a singles match. And the rest of the luchadors came and jumped Mox. And at that point in time, for kayfabe or whatever, Combat Club was not around. So Mox was literally getting jumped by like 6 luchadors on his own, which is very rare for Mox to never have backup, especially nowadays.
Yeah, well, because I
um,
think one of the things was Danielson definitely was in Japan, I believe,
yeah.
at that point, but I don't know where Claudio or Wheeler was his biggest
And
thing.
like we haven't seen Yuta in any of the recent stuff with Combat Club and CMLL, but that
Yeah,
could be just, different scheduling dates. It could be whatever. There's a lot of things.
they could just be keeping him off of TV after the whole like not Jungle Boy, Hook thing. So
Yeah.
because
Um,
that was probably not the best for Wheeler, honestly, because he got no heat, he got no attention. It's just like, hey, bud, we're gonna have to retool a little bit for you.
yeah, they might be using him a little bit more in Ring of Honor, get him back to fighting for the pure title. Right.
Yeah.
Because that's where he's thrived. But
Hmm.
again, I've said it before. We said it on episode 1. I'll say it again. We could probably dedicate an hour and a half to just Yuta, but that is when we have nothing else to talk about. Yuta is the filler. um, but so
Wheeler Yuta
Mock,
is gonna be the first big talent to see this. He's like, what the fuck did I do?
yeah. Um, but so yeah, Mox is getting jumped, and so a bunch of the guys from the back come out, and like a mishmash of dudes. It's like Matt Menard, Christopher Daniels, I think Angelo Parker, and like
Hmm.
one or two others that are just like a hefty chunk of it is the ashes of the JAS, but Christopher Daniels has always just kind of been around. And the
Yeah.
thing that caught my attention was Excalibur referring to it as these are proud members of the AEW roster. And the way they are wording it, I almost feel like TK's pushing the idea of we're gonna get just like a full on luchador invasion from CMLL, where it's gonna
Hmm.
be like either at or after Revolution, possibly in between Revolution and Big Business, where it's just going to be a thing of like every match is going to get interrupted by somebody from CMLL, and we're going to run like a full on like an invasion style thing.
See, I'm okay with an invasion angle. I just hope it's booked well
Yeah.
because sometimes with two different companies, two different bookers like, hey, this and this and this needs to happen. You got to make the best talent from both shows look great.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, someone's gonna have to. If it's like a big, like, let's say 6-on-6, 12 man, whatever, someone's gonna have to take the pin and lose, and it's
Yeah.
like gonna kind of make the other company look bad. But for the necessary good of constant like booking on other shows or bringing talent
Mm-hmm.
over, sending talent, back and forth, you're gonna have to make everyone look good, or else it's gonna look like a possible sour relationship in the very end.
So, do you
But
want to know a fun fact of
hmm,
something like that? This is why you'll see a lot of New Japan talent show up on AEW.
hmm.
You will see, obviously, anybody that they sign. You'll see, the odd individual from the Indies. Do you want to know a promotion you will probably never see any talent come over, like show up for a show?
Who, I'm curious.
Stardom. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reason why you talking about two different bookers is the fact that because Stardom has, connections to New Japan. For those that don't
Mhm,
know, Stardom is an all-female roster of wrestlers in Japan,
mhm.
which they're going through a whole lack of stuff as well, but that's a whole different conversation. Um, but I guess early on, when Tony Khan was starting to get a lot of the ties to New Japan and all that, he, through extension and connection, got in touch with the, heads of Stardom and was like, we'd love to have some of your talent come over. We get to represent them on American television. We get to have, that good working relationship.
Yeah.
But Tony Khan only wanted their top stars in Stardom to come over and always take the pin to an AEW talent to try and
No.
make AEW's talent look better. And it was like, this is why there was such a bitter, not a bitter, but not a good relationship where the only people you'll see from Stardom are those that have left that want to come wrestle over here. Mariah
Yeah.
May being a great example of that.
Which I have to fully agree. It's like you don't want to come over here, travel, show up on a Dynamite, and then no offense to the talent in AEW. I don't want to come over and lose in a 6-minute match to Soraya. I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
Or
That
like,
would not look good.
yeah. And it's just like, there's got to be that give and take of like, you know, and the other thing as well, and this goes to the other side of it, of regardless of who does what, regardless, even if they found a relationship that worked better, of like, yeah, some of y'all's will win, some of ours will win, it'll be a good back and forth.
Hmm.
As of up until probably the last month and a half, Tony Khan has been infamous for not booking women properly. So regardless whether you're going to go over there and win, is it worth flying from Japan to wherever they're taping in the States for
Yeah.
a 4-minute match in which 2 minutes of it is picture in picture? Like, and mind you,
And
he's getting better. Maple's been recording the times, and the last
God.
2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
they've been like 8-minute matches. Mind you, 3 minutes picture in picture, but 5 minutes actually on TV is still longer than like the last year's worth of matches. So
I will say this. What would you say that time window was where it's been treating women right?
probably like the last 2 to 3 weeks at most.
Yeah, and then it's this AEW has been live for I think what 3 years at this point now,
5,
5 years at this point.
2019.
Yeah, 5 years at this point, and he's been booking women right for the past month.
Well, yeah, and he's probably starting to book women right because he knows he's getting one of the most popular female wrestlers
Yeah,
to show up in Boston in a month.
and I think it goes to show you that the most recent pay per view is a big big note big a big standout point because it was a 1v1 Statlander and Willow that
Mm-hmm.
was on the pre-show. Mind you, the pre-show, and they put on the best women's match probably of the night because
Mm-hmm.
they were given a small window. I think it was like what 12 minutes, 13 minutes. I
I think they went for about 10 minutes. The match length was scheduled for, I think it was a 20-minute time limit.
Yeah, so they went for about 10 minutes. And this could be for any talent. This is not just women. If you're given 10 minutes and you're allowed to just go, you can make magic. And that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Was the finish of it was kind of fucky, but I think it's because they were just going just
Yeah,
on
you
stop for
could
10
see that
minutes
they were gassed by the end of
because
that match.
they were trying to get everything in because they're not on the pay-per-view, but they're still being shown. And they're like, "Fuck it. We're not a title match. Apparently we don't matter, but we're going to make it be the best
Well,
women's match of the night." And it
so the
was.
thing with that as well, it's to me, it's a thing of, I don't even look at it as like, we're not on the pay-per-view. Do you know why those two had that match to begin with?
Hmm.
The location. They're both New Yorkers. It was in Long Island.
Wide it was in Long
Yeah.
Island.
So, they gave them, essentially, hey, you've got 10 to 20, you got 10 to 12 minutes in front of your hometown crowd where y'all started your careers, right? That's part of the reason they would have put on as good of a match as they did, is because, for the
Yeah,
two of them, because I'm pretty sure because they've crossed paths in the indies before too. Like they've,
I'd imagine so.
well, I was reading Willow's wiki the other day, talking to Maple,
Mhm.
and actually Willow lost her first title in the indies to Statlander back in like 2017 or something like that, 2019.
That is honestly incredible.
So like they know each other, right? Like they used to wrestle like the New York indies together. So for them, it's like there's a lot of friendship and a lot of history going up and down the road like that. So to be
Yeah.
able to have that match and that freedom, I say freedom more in the sense of like there isn't a title match, so you can kind of just let her rip, and whoever wins wins. Because at this point, it's you know two friends having a fun match, right?
I agree. Now, I will say this since we are talking on women currently, and before this is right before we're going to transition over to WWE. Do you think the two holders currently in AEW are doing the title justice?
Tony and Julia.
Tony and Julia.
So I will say this: I love Tony Storm's gimmick. I think it
Hmm.
is a fantastic gimmick. I don't know. The only thing I'm worried about is not from a champion standpoint, but from a gimmick standpoint. I don't know
Hmm.
where you go when you lose that belt from here.
Yeah, because it started out as being a starlet. I say starlet, of course, because that would probably be the terminology used for like an up and coming moving star back in the like 40s.
Yeah,
And then you develop this character, you do silent movies, you get a butler, you
yeah,
get an assistant now, even though again the assistant is one of the best stardom wrestlers that
hmm,
you've probably signed in for stardom wrestlers slash wrestlers you've signed in quite a little bit of time.
yeah,
And it's like holding the title means something, and she has this reputation now, and this is a good reputation to have, is to being very vocal in the ring and on commentary.
hmm,
And I'm very happy I get to break this seal on this podcast. Well, she will be in the ring, and when she goes to chop people, she'll say it's time for a titty slap. I'm
hmm.
very happy I get to say this on the podcast. Breaking the glass ceiling here. But it's like she adds to the match. I
Hmm.
will always love when wrestlers will either berate or talk in the ring that
Yeah,
gets picked up for the crowd and of course for people at home. And when she does commentary, she also doesn't break character either. That's the biggest thing. It's
yeah.
like she's
Oh
still
man,
sticking with it, and it works so well.
it does. But what do you? Because but the whole thing is like this gimmick was started on when she lost the title. That was the
Yeah,
beginning of the descent into madness that has built her into this.
yeah.
But
Because
when you lose that title again, you
what
can't
happens
go. You
there?
were already off the deep end. How do
Yeah.
it's going to be one of those things of, and it's going to sound weird, but I'm going to throw this out here as I think when Tony loses this title, we don't see her for like 4 months on TV. And
Hmm.
the idea being when she comes back, she's back to not normal, but original Tony. And that
Hmm.
idea being that this entire chunk of time, like that time she's off TV, is going to be like kayfabe, like going through therapy and like psychiatric help to
Oh, I would love that.
unwind all of the, rebolt all the screws that fell loose.
And then if you were to do that, you could always have in the back of her mind this you could pull out again if you wanted to down the road, and just like, yeah, we can run back some of the timeless Tony stuff if we want to, but we don't have
Yeah.
to, which
You
I
like,
think would work well.
you almost have to start booking. You like, now, oh, I just had a thought.
What's up? What's
If
what
you
is what's
don't do it that way, if you don't
hmm
go with like she loses the title, she's off TV to like like rewrite herself.
yeah.
She loses the title, she's gone for a month, she comes back to her original theme, and now you give her the Mick Foley treatment. Because
Ooh,
when she
okay.
came out as Timeless Tony Storm, they went, this is the debut of Timeless Tony Storm. So that
That's
Timeless Tony
interesting.
Storm is an iteration of her that is separate from Tony Storm. So you have like your
Hmm.
Mick Foley, your Cactus Jack, your Dude Love, your Mankind. You have
Yeah.
Tony Storm and Timeless Tony Storm, and they are treated as separate entities.
So that would actually honestly be incredible. So do you know the difference between the three characters, and well, I would say the two characters of Dude Love and Mankind.
Because
Do
yeah,
you?
Mankind was the dude that he was like the man out of the boiler room, right?
Mhm.
Like he
And
lived in the.
then Dude Love was always the original gimmick McFoley wanted to do as a kid.
Oh really?
And do you want to know the difference between the two characters? Is
It's the
just
name. The name's
it's
slightly different.
synonyms, yeah.
Yeah, the
It's
synonyms. Yeah,
mankind, dude
dude,
love,
love.
kind
Yeah,
love, man, dude, yeah. That's the reason why they ran with it. It's like it works so well. And then, Cactus Jack was just fucking a nut job from ECW, which worked, and Japan as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Also, I'm
okay.
gonna say this before we move on because I do want to touch a little bit on Revolution before we go to the
No, no,
WWE
that's
side
fair.
of the
That's
world.
fair.
But hey, yeah, shout out to the fact that I absolutely called the name
Oh my
change for the
god, he was
Bucks
so
knee
proud of
strike,
this.
dude. So if you go back to episode 1, there's a moment where a little switch goes off in Chris's head where he goes, "They're gonna change the BTE trigger to the EVP trigger." Last week on Dynamite, they came out. Sting and Darby won the tag titles, which I'm not super thrilled about, but we'll get into that in a minute. And they came
Yeah,
out and they jumped Darby, they jumped Sting in full white suits that became riddled with blood, which I think was the most cinematic thing they've done this
yeah.
year so far.
I think if you watch that back, you could definitely tell it's on purpose,
Oh,
because
100%.
because at certain points you can see like Darby like intentionally like rubbing the blood in, and so same thing with Sting.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah,
they're
they're
forcing like
definitely trying to
blood
lean
to
into it more.
that
Yeah.
thing.
But yeah, they had both of it and they grabbed the arms and they put up the hand. They called it EVP trigger, hit the knee, and then Excalibur goes, "Yeah, they came and told me in the back they've changed the name of it." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I heard them say it. I screamed when I watched that. I was like, I
It
fucking
was
called
so
it.
good. The moment I heard it, I was like, God, I said, God damn it out loud. Not like anger or frustration, but it was like, God damn it. Chris was right.
Dude, I told you. I told you. Like, that's the thing. The longer I watch, the more I can start to pick up those little things like that, man.
So, do we want to run down a little bit of what we're probably going to see on the card? Because I
Yeah.
believe as of right now, we I would say we have 2 title matches at least. We have definitely the Bucks versus Darby and Sting. I don't know if it's going to be like a regular tag match, maybe Falls Count Anywhere. Maybe for one last match they bring back the cinematic stuff that they did early on, or just, you know, probably the latter again. It's like I could either see like a regular tag match or like a hardcore match since Sting out,
Yeah.
truly fighting, but who's to say? And
Yeah.
then as of right now, oh god, I can't wait to see this live. A
Oh, yeah,
triple
you do
threat
get to see this live.
for
Damn
the
it, I forgot.
AEW World Title. Samoa Joe taking on
Hangman and
two of my
Swerve.
favorite talents of all time, Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
I will bring this up because you did watch the match between those two, right?
Yeah, the one that went to time.
Did you enjoy the double turn where Swerve is probably now a face and Hangman is now a heel?
Oh, yeah, that would be, huh?
Because Swerve, who
Fought
is notorious
clean.
for never asking for anything, asked Hangman for 5 more minutes, and also Prince Nana did not get involved at
Yeah, well,
all.
Swerve had requested I gotta beat him 1-on-1. I didn't even consider. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't even think about that as a double
and
turn, but
then
yeah, you're
think
probably a little right with that.
think about last time Hangman was in a match like this and was asked for time, he didn't get
Hmm.
it. So Hangman's like, "You didn't beat me, Swerve,"
Yeah,
blah 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 blah. And then of course they made the announcement that we're getting a triple threat match.
yeah.
I I hate to say it, but I think with a triple threat match, Joe not I don't hate Samoa Joe. I like Samoa Joe, but I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Joe sadly retains in this match.
Well, the other thing as well is this will be his first pay per view title defense because he's
Yeah, I
only
don't think.
had it was him and Hook on Dynamite, and other than
Mhm.
that, he hasn't defended the title.
Yeah, I don't think we get a transitional champion. I think it'd be stupid
Not
because
after
I
what
think
they did to Max.
no, that would be idiotic. We're probably also getting Cassidy and Roderick.
Yeah, I looked up by the way to see what matches are like confirmed.
Hmm.
And right now, and I don't even know if one of them's confirmed. It seems heavily like it's going to be that no matter what. But yeah, you've got Joe Swerve Hangman for world title, Sting Darby versus the Bucks for world tag titles in his retirement match.
Hmm.
You've got Cassidy Roderick for the international title.
Yeah.
And then again, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I wouldn't be surprising with the way they've been pushing it. Tony Storm and Deanna
Oh,
Purrazzo.
Diana. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that could be a really good match because I before her coming over, I knew a little bit about Diana. I know she had like time in NXT that didn't go well. I don't know what that's about. I
Yeah.
think it's in WWE. Honest to God, I don't blame her. She
Hmm.
went on to have a fantastic run in TNA at that time, Impact.
Yeah.
And I also didn't realize again before this, her and Tony were like really good friends and
Hmm.
everything. I imagine they're still friends now, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, and I think they're gonna go and they're gonna if they get a
Dude.
good time, they could fucking tear the house down.
Dude, that I will say that was one of my favorite moments as of recent. In that was the interview, like the sit down interview on the top of the ramp, and they split the camera color and black and
That was
white,
so good.
and Deanna being like, "If you look, I got a lot of tattoos. I got one on my ankle, and I know you have one as well." And like
Oh,
the
I
fact because they have a matching tattoo from way back in the day,
mm-hmm.
and that being that is like, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't think Deanna wins it. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Deanna is the person to bring old Tony back out of the timeless gimmick when it comes time.
I could see that. Like we see like a secondary level of aggression in the title match itself.
Yeah,
Like she pulls that out of her, and we get classic Tony Storm,
yeah,
which
or
I'd
like a
be okay.
blend of the two.
But as of right now, all of these matches are perfectly fine with me. I again, are they doing anything with the TBS title currently?
They
Either of
haven't
them?
nothing's booked as of yet. Um, I don't know what you do with Julia right now though.
Yeah.
Unless you go with Rosa, but that feels
Oh, yeah, but that's
like they've had a few interactions, so unless you run Julia, unless you don't necessarily put the TBS title in it, you go Julia and Sky Blue, possibly Willow Stat, because I know that's been something that's been
I could see that.
around, and I mean it gets more women on the card, so I'm not against not running a title match if it means more
Mhm.
talent gets showcased, right?
Now, what about Christian? Because
We haven't seen him in ever really, like
that's what I'm saying. It's like cool because unless he
yeah.
got hurt or he's dinged up a little bit after the match with Copeland, it's like, do we just not see Christian for a bit? Which isn't a
Well,
bad thing. They're currently
yeah.
rebuilding Copeland's stock right now.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is because they're doing the Cope Open on the idea of like Adams working his way back up to number one contender now that they put the rankings back in, which I
Yeah.
think is the smartest thing that they did, bringing him back
Al-
personally.
Also, to the people out there, not you loyal people at home, but just a lot of people are complaining that Copeland's like quote unquote wasting his time wrestling on these shows. This guy loves to wrestle.
Yeah,
He wants to wrestle younger talent to help them learn, to
yeah,
get
he's
better.
doing it to
And
elevate talent.
he's not doing it because he's forced to do it. I guarantee you, Copeland's like, I don't want to wrestle until this point. I want to be in a big name feud. Tony would accommodate that. He would be fine with that. But Copeland's like, I want out there and go. I don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah,
And he just wants to make the best of his time, which
yeah,
I think he does, and I think he will.
and I genuinely think we will not see Copeland Christian in a match again, like against each other, until I don't know if you do that at Wembley. I wouldn't be against them running that back at Wembley. But I think either Wembley or Double or Nothing is when we get like some of their mid-year pay-per-views. I think is where we see Copeland Christian run it back.
That wouldn't upset me in the slightest. The only issue I have with that is like you need something in between Copeland for Christian.
Yeah.
Because unless he holds that title forever and does nothing with it, that diminishes the title
Mm-hmm.
entirely. And we don't need any more of that
No.
because the TBS title before Christian was a back and forth hot potato mess of several title holders who
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have held it as long, or some that should have held it longer, but they couldn't make up their mind.
Yeah, because you've got I got the roster up and I'm looking through, but yeah, you've got like Wardlow held it for 136, lost it to Joe for 47, lost it to Darby for 28, lost it back to Joe for 32, lost it to Wardlow for 3, lost it to Hobbs for 42, back to Wardlow for 59, then Luchasaurus for 98, Christian for 98, Copeland for 3 minutes, and now Christian again.
I forgot he held it. I forgot about that entire thing.
That's the whole reason of the Cope Open is literally
No,
like
no, yeah.
he's technically allowed a champions rematch and Christian's denying it. So Copeland's like, all right, fuck it. I will just fight
I'll
my
earn
way
it
back
back.
to number one contender, so you have no choice.
Now, before we transition over, I will ask about this.
Hmm.
We didn't really talk about them last week, I think, at all. I think we mentioned the Acclaim. We of course mentioned like Jay White and everything.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk probably about the biggest faction currently in AEW?
Oh, the Bang Bang Scissor Gang.
The Bang Bang Scissor Gang that currently consists of Anthony Bowens, Max Caster, Billy Gunn, Austin Gunn,
Colton
other
Gunn.
Gunn, Colton Gunn, thank you, and Jay White and Juice
Juice
Robinson.
Robinson. The 7-man
So
faction.
technically we're six right now because Juice is off TV,
Yeah, he's
but
out with
technically,
legit injury. Yeah.
but it's seven people currently,
Yeah.
and it's just like, well, I think it's probably gonna end up them, turning into each other, and then we're gonna get probably a title for title match.
Yeah.
But like as of right now, it's like, what do you do with a six-man faction? Like, because
Whatever the hell
again,
you want. It's a
well,
numbers
yeah,
game,
yeah,
baby.
because they're getting cleared no matter what. But it's like they like kind of help each other during matches, but usually they come out, they'll just like it's the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, and they'll get the scissors and the guns. They'll just do this, which I'm okay with.
Oh, I
But it's
love it.
like I because
So,
I because I also I see they have merch. I was like, I really want one of those
oh
shirts.
yeah. So here's the way I see this playing out. What you do with them right now is again whatever the hell you want because there are no factions in AEW that can on their own match number for number.
No.
Trios sure, but 6-on-6 you can't. There's nothing
Oh my god, a 12
unless
man
you
tag
grab
match.
6 luchadors from CMLL, but that feels like a bit of a stretch at the moment.
I would love a
Um,
12-man tag match just to see 10 whole competitors just on the ropes on the ringside.
God, yeah. So my thought with this is I feel that there is a world of possibility in which you get one of two outcomes with that. Either Austin and Colton appeal to their dad and have Billy heel turn away from the Acclaimed.
Mhm.
And then when that happens, the Guns step away from Bullet Club and you have definitively the Guns. Austin, Colton, their dad, Billy.
I
Let the
would
Acclaimed go back to tag.
that's kind of what I wanted to see for a bit of time, honestly. It's like if they're gonna do trios, why not have that as a faction that
Yeah,
runs with title?
make it a family thing before Billy has to hang up the boots. Or
Yeah.
you have the same scenario, but instead, when Juice is back, you get Austin and Colton face turn away from Bullet Club Gold,
Mhm.
but specifically through Colton, because Colton was the one from Bullet Club that was down for the supergroup idea. He was
Ooh,
the
this is
only
true.
one trying to do it. The other way you run this is, and I hate to pull the comparison, but it's a good one. You J. Jimmy Uso this, and you split the Gun Brothers.
Hmm.
Leave Austin with Bullet Club Gold. Colton leaves, they have their internal conflict at some point. Like down the line. Because again, it is a faction of 7 people, but it's 4 heels and 3 faces, technically.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
technically speaking, Bullet Club Gold is a faction of heels. The Acclaimed are faces. So you are mixing good and bad, which means somebody's got to do something to somebody. So it could be a thing of when it feels like it's the right time, when Juice is back for Bullet Club to sever the tie to the Acclaimed and take the titles. Colton might be the one hesitant, which then
Mhm.
you split Austin and Colton and you can run a brother feud. Which, if you wanted to, you could run their version of what I've always wanted for the Usos, which is Austin versus Colton singles, Billy Gunn guest ref. Have their dad be the impartial middle.
This is true. This could
Because
work.
that's what I've always wanted for whenever they inevitably run Jay Jimmy, which might be at Mania, which we'll get to later. But if they run Jay versus Jimmy, I've always wanted Rikishi as a guest ref because I think it'd be fun.
I think it would work.
I think it'd be great
Yeah.
because they've even said in interviews that they've wanted they always wanted to have a match against each other, and they've said they wanted to get as much of the family involved with it as they could.
Yeah. You might
So
as
the
well that.
idea of let Rikishi be guest ref, hell, get a bunch of the the elders to come out and be
There's
enforcers on the outside.
there's enough talent, not talent. There's enough like Onawai family members that could come out is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Because it's not just like The Rock, Roman, the Usos, and Rikishi. I
Yeah.
believe the I'm not naming the tag team because of the name, I believe, is not very great. Roman's dad and I believe his brother are still alive is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I believe so.
And
Yes,
then
because Roman's dad is, I believe, chief, like elder chief right now, technically.
yeah. So it's like you have so much talent you could bring out is the
Yeah, like
biggest thing.
you've got, like Rikishi, the Usos, Solo. Technically, Naomi's married into the family.
hmm
You've
You could
got,
also bring out the because I think he's not currently signed their other cousin or brother,
yeah, Jacob.
Jacob. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
Jacob's contract, which everyone thought was up until 2025, is over. He's no longer
Yeah.
hard signed MLW.
hmm
So, which
Which would work.
if they call him up or they bring him in, I want him to feud with Solo first. Like I want him to be the outside of the family coming in.
God, I hope they do something with Solo. Like,
Oh,
he needs
actually,
something.
you know what would be great? Ooh, this would be fun. All right, we've entered fantasy booking territory because they posted at the press conference. They posted the whole Anawani family,
hmm
which I learned actually looking at that because I found a decent photo of it. Because obviously we know Roman and then J Jimmy and Solo are cousins.
Yeah.
They're from so the family itself, they are technically all like blood descendant, but there's a chunk of the family that is there, like the other half of the Anawani family is like the top two heads of the family are sworn by blood oath. They're not
Yeah,
biologically
yeah,
brothers. I
yeah,
never knew that. I thought it was all
yeah.
just two
I
brothers that.
I cannot remember the other one, but of course, High Chief Peter Maivia,
Yeah.
the Great Oos, not the Great Oos, the Rock's grandfather.
Hmm.
That's why like Rocky Johnson is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that's why like I believe if you look at it well, you will see like Rocky Johnson and everything.
Yeah, because I believe the other side of the family is where Tonga Kid comes from. I think he's
Yes.
from the Blood Oath half, I believe.
hmm
But hear me out, right? Because we'll get into the everything that happened at the press conference because oh boy, there's a lot to talk
Well,
about there.
this could perfectly be a good
Yeah, this
transition.
this is the pivot. We've
Yeah.
switched brands now. But so you have because everyone's always described Jacob in MLW as they did to Jacob in MLW what everyone wanted WWE to do to Solo, which is they
hmm
just turned him into a monster in the ring.
Yeah, and it works.
So hear me out though, because you've got Roman who has Solo as his enforcer and his kind of the right hand man now that the Usos have kind of wavered in loyalty. And now you've got obviously The Rock is getting involved. But and it's really funny because everything I've seen of it, every time you see The Rock, Roman stands to Rock the way Solo stands to Roman.
Yeah. He
But
stands down, not down, but he stands to the side.
yeah, he very much makes his presence diminished, which is really funny for a guy who is less than a year away from holding the longest title reign in the history of the company, surpassing even
hmm
Hogan. Like, he's almost at 1,000 wins in his career. Like, this man is arguably one of the most decorated in terms of accolades
Yeah, and
in the modern era.
I believe internally now he is just WWE champion. Like
Yeah.
I think they've done away with Universal Champion as well, which I'm fine with. Honestly, I
Yeah.
like the title, but I never liked Universal Champion.
Do you know why they did the one belt now, by the way? Like that 1,000-day gold belt?
Hmm.
They did
Why?
that because, and this is super, super, like this shows outside of kayfabe,
Yeah.
how good of a person Roman really is, how good of a person Joe is.
hmm
When Bray Wyatt passed, he flew out to his mother's house and
Oh,
gave him the SmackDown belt.
because that was all him. Well,
Yeah.
in a sense, it was all him. For those who don't know Bray, of course, because the title's originally red. He's like, since we're I think it was like a Firefly House.
Firefly Funhouse,
Firefly
yeah.
Funhouse, thank you. And then he's like, "Oh, but this doesn't match," and the title went from red and transitioned to blue. When that was the first introduction, at least the blue Universal title.
Yeah, so that title is now in the possession of Bray's family. So
That's
when he did that, that was when they pivoted to here, and it did line up pretty well actually. Where the next time we saw Roman was post Bray's passing, post Thousand
yeah.
Day title reign. So the idea of let's just change it to we glued the two belts together. Here's your gold belt,
Hmm.
while still keeping the original reason there was
Yeah.
really really sweet.
Which I
But
will say,
yeah,
I really do like the gold belt.
I
I'm
do
gonna say
too.
that
I
now.
wish they put any kind of design to it other than just we're gonna slap the logo in the middle of the fucking thing. But
I feel the exact same way with the world title currently. You have big gold just sitting there, and they're like, "Fuck it." They put a stamp on it. I'm just like, okay,
yeah, this is
this feels
why I need Cody
unnecessary.
to win any kind of. He needs to beat Roman for that belt so we can get the fucking the winged eagle back.
Because Cody again, this is wouldn't be the first time he's pushed for like a rebranding of a title.
Yeah,
Because the Intercontinental title got a rework because of Cody,
yeah,
not the one we have now, but the one we had prior,
yeah. The old IC.
the white strap. It was so good.
Yeah, but so going back to the fantasy booking idea, so you have Roman Solo.
Hmm.
And then obviously Rock and Roman are kind of. It seems like Rock is joining the bloodline in some sense, but
Yeah.
there's no way that doesn't end in a power struggle between Rock Roman.
Oh, for sure.
Like, there's not a chance in hell these two get along perfectly. Especially if Roman loses the title at Mania, there's definitely no way they're gonna get along. So
Hmm.
what I want is this is how you debut Jacob is Rock Roman, and as is common with Roman matches, ref goes on gets knocked out of the ring or hurt. Solo comes up to spike Rock. Jacob comes up, spikes Solo.
Ooh, I would like that.
And literally have a thing of you then have Rock, like Roman Solo versus Rock Jacob.
That
And it's
yeah,
literally two people that are like essentially the heads of the family with two of the enforcers from the younger generation.
I would be okay with this. The only thing I don't want to say I worry about this. It's something that I think about for like for a bit of time is what do you do with all this talent post Bloodline?
Yeah, when it's over.
Because a story can never run forever.
No.
You can have the fragments of it exist internally forever, but you can't always be doing the Bloodline. Is the biggest
No.
thing. Because I definitely see a day where the Usos do get back together. Is the biggest thing. Because I don't think
Yeah.
we've done seeing them tag. So that's like
Yeah.
the biggest thing. It's like it's also one of those things where I think after Roman loses the title, what do you do with Roman? Do you just send him off and just like
Yeah, Roman
have him do
disappears
whatever?
forever. Like Roman
Yeah,
will disappear for a long ass time when that title's gone.
yeah, and because I know for a lot of people, it's like, oh yeah, but he hasn't been on the show from week to week to week. It's like that's his contract at this point.
He's a part timer.
Joe Joe can't be a full timer anymore
No.
because of medical reasons as well. He's never going to be a full timer again, and it's
No.
understandable. But
Yeah. I
I think
think
we'll see.
yeah.
It's the biggest
I
thing.
I think when I think the bloodline story ends when Roman loses those belts. Or
Oh, for
like
sure.
if we're going off of the idea of like the innings, Roman loses those titles in like the 8th inning. The
Yeah,
ninth inning is the fallout of the family. What
yeah,
happens to Solo's loyalty when Roman doesn't carry the titles? What happens to the Usos title? What happens between Rock and Roman? Right.
yeah.
And when the dust settles, you have Rock versus Roman is the final part of that.
Hmm.
Whoever wins, wins. Solidify them as head of the table. And
Yeah.
then, and in my theory, and I hate it to say it this way, I think Dwayne wins that match because then it's that idea of you cut the head off the body. If you cut off the head of the snake, the body will wither.
Yeah.
And if Roman loses both title, if Roman loses his title to Cody at Mania, and then a few months later, or come SummerSlam or Backlash, even Roman loses head of the table to Rock, the Usos
Mhm.
have no reason to stand beside him. Solo has no reason to stand beside him. Heyman has no reason to stand beside him, which then gives us the ability for Heyman to go
Yeah,
stand next to Braun Breaker and build him up as the next monster.
I
Because
like
they're
it.
already starting to do that. Because the one time Dynamite ran on a Tuesday, they
Mm-hmm.
stock loaded NXT with like Becky
Jesus,
was
yeah.
there, Cody was there, The Undertaker was there. Like it was a ridiculous ass show. But
Yeah.
one of the things they did was Paul Heyman stood in Braun's corner. And
Yeah.
everyone then went, oh, Braun's a Paul Heyman guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the start of where I think a lot of people put eyes on Braun. And then
Right.
obviously, with everything happening, on main roster, they replaced Lesnar with Breaker spot for spot in the Rumble.
Yeah.
Like they're giving him that. Like they're gonna start pushing this kid to the moon.
Do you think if it wasn't for, because I think you're unaware, it was, I think Jimmy was the one going up against possibly Gunther going forward.
Yeah, I think it is it Jimmy. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going up against Gunther. Oh, I keep wanting to call him
Oh, you
Walter.
almost went back to the old gimmick.
Yeah, I prefer. I'm okay with that, but I truly do hope if the Oos can't get it done, I think it should be Braun. I think it should be the two powerhouses just going at it and tearing each other apart.
You're talking Braun Gunther for the IC.
Braun and Gunther at WrestleMania, yeah.
That's tempting. I I wish they brought. I almost wonder if they'd bring him up before this because the one I stand on the mentality of, like, yes,
Hmm.
I think Braun would be a great one to knock Gunther down,
Hmm.
but the other one, and I don't know much about how he is in the ring, but it's a name I hear thrown around a lot, is fucking Ilya Dragunov.
Ooh.
Ever,
I think.
I've heard so many people say that idea of like either he comes up and joins Imperium because then you
Hmm.
get Oh Christ, I can't remember the other two guys' names. Oh my god.
I know who you're talking about. I
Yeah,
can't think of
Gunther,
who.
the other two, and then Dragonov as like a
Yeah.
four-man group would be nutty.
Because I think the only reason we're not going to see Dragonoff and Gunther, at least at Mania, is because Dragonoff, of course, currently is the NXT champion. That's the
Yeah,
biggest thing.
yeah,
And I think that's the biggest issue that we're currently dealing with.
that's fair. But yeah, like I don't know, dude. Mania is in such a weird spot post
Hmm.
Rumble.
Oh,
Usually
for
by
sure.
the end of the Rumble, everyone kind of knows how it's going to play out, and because of injuries and everything else, I don't think anyone publicly knows, like anyone that watches, really knows where we're going yet. We have
Yeah,
ideas, but
but it's always loose ideas. You never truly know the aspect of what's going to happen until it actually happens. Is the biggest thing.
yeah, but
Because
like
I'm excited, but since we're talking about post Mania, I do want to talk a little bit about, since we did bring us up, the press conference, just to, because I
yeah,
feel like
yeah. There's
this
one thing
is
in
worth
particular
noting.
I want to bring up to you because obviously, we said on episode 1, like, you've been watching a lot longer than I have, and you've
Hmm.
seen, probably I would say a good chunk of each kind of era of the WWE, if not more.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out this idea that this whole thing of like Cody giving his spot to Rock, the pivot, the we want Cody thing, all the way now to him calling a shot at the press conference and all of that,
Hmm.
people are saying like it's almost an artificially built version of the Yes movement from Danielson's era.
Yes. 100% yes. I truly believe. I hate giving credit where credit is due, even though they are moving in a direction where you have got rid of the poison inside WWE.
Hopefully,
They hopefully gotten rid of most of it.
yeah,
It is easy to build on something that you know is going to work if you've done it in the past before. I
yeah,
say it because the Yes movement was not artificial.
hmm,
Danielson was not supposed to main event. The fans made that happen.
yeah,
I think he was originally supposed to be doing stuff with Punk at One Mania. That didn't happen because Punk left the company.
hmm,
I think Batista was always the play for a bit, but I never think Batista was supposed to be the world champion again.
Mm-hmm.
But Danielson got over, was the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Danielson became Danielson, and he's just like the crowd took hold of him because it was something we hadn't seen. Well, we've seen before, but I'm not allowed to talk about that person. We've seen before, but this point it felt more special, and it
Mm-hmm.
became special. And then I imagine backstage saw that and was like, okay, we can make this work. We can do with this what we can. And then over time, the crowds took over. The crowds took control. And then at a certain point, the yes movement did become artificial. Is the biggest thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it became like we're gonna be doing these big segments and everything. We're gonna start doing a bunch of like the entire like everyone in the ring with like the yes shirts and everything. That of course is artificial. But
Yeah.
up to that, it was all the crowd. From SummerSlam when Randy cashed in until it was officially booked. You beat Triple H at WrestleMania. You go on to face, you face Randy Orton and Batista. That was when it was artificial. But like before that, it was all Danielson. It was all the fans.
Yeah.
And then I will say this: the original. I'm not going to mention the third person. The original time this did happen was back in 2004. The original match was supposed to be Triple H just versus Shawn Michaels, but the third talent got over to a certain degree, got over to a certain point to where they're like, "What if we run with this guy?" And it is one of the best wrestling matches and storytelling you can get because it's two friends and just some guy that the crowd likes
Mm-hmm.
beating the hell out of each other, and the submission comes because the two friends hate each other so much they don't care about the third person,
Yeah.
and that's storytelling is purest. And I think this time around, you're like, Cody's given up. He doesn't want to. We're getting Seth involved now. I'm going to talk about Seth for a few minutes as well at a certain
Yeah.
point, but
Oh
not
yeah.
yet. Um, but it's like this feels because it's like Cody willingly just giving up the spot to The Rock makes no sense
No.
because it's like I'm gonna face you at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns. I'm gonna fight you, and then we cut to SmackDown. He's like he willingly gives the spot to The
Yeah,
Rock.
he wins the Rumble, hops up on the turnbuckle, and is pointing and yelling at Roman from corner of the ring to top box of the arena.
You
And
you
they're
don't
building that to
you
then
don't
a week, not even a week later, him go, I pointed at you. But for later, psych, here's your cousin.
yeah no
Bye. No,
that is
fuck you.
that is the most idiotic thing. It's not a misdirect or it's not a haha you're getting us. I think the moment you also announced the press conference in Vegas while like excuse me, while they build up towards the Super Bowl was genius though, because it's like you're getting the most eyes on that town right now.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalize on it, have it be a big deal, and
Yeah.
then because for those unaware, the WrestleMania is not going to be not going to be in Vegas this year. It's going to be in Philadelphia, but it's like you want to have the most eyes on this product, and it worked for the best because you had several wrestlers get on the mic, get to talk their best,
Mm-hmm.
and you get these true moments. But I love these moments. I love what they're doing with Cody, but this is artificial, and I think fans are going to realize that. But if he gets to finish his story, I think they're going to be okay with dealing with the artificial built
Yeah,
story.
it's like because as soon as he came out with The Rock on SmackDown, that was the inciting incident for people getting very vocal online of like this is
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. And then the reports started showing up of like this was booked months in advance because this was part of Rock's condition to be part of the board of directors for TKO. This was set up when he took over in January. This would happen before the Rumble. Cody didn't know until post Rumble. People started to like villainize Triple H because of it, because they were like, why would you give him that win if it was? And then the theories of like Punk was supposed to win it because they already knew. But then the argument of like, well, why does Punk know? Like, why did Punk Cody know the finish, but not the reason why it was supposed to be the finish? Why would they
Exactly.
swerve that? Why would they audible that for the injury
Yeah.
mid match when he doesn't know if he's out until post Mania?
Mm.
And just And then the big thing that everyone, because then the copium kind of started rolling in of like, oh yeah, he brought Rock out to like build on Roman's paranoia, question Solo's loyalty. The contract signing would happen. They'd sign the contract for the match, and then Rock would go, "Did you read it?" Cody's music hit and come out. There was a million reasons and
Yeah.
a million ways people were trying to justify it, and then it became the thing of, well, fuck it, let's just say the hashtag we want Cody, and
Yeah,
that built
exactly.
that, and then they started handing out the signs at the crowd at the event, and then that was when people were like, okay, we probably got worked. If they're bleeding into this, we're getting worked. The
I
big nail in the coffin was Drew, and Drew coming out between Cody and Seth, going, "You need to finish your story."
Mhm.
It's like this WWE creative writes for like months at a time. They're not
Yeah.
writing the show the week of. And the
Mhm.
reason we know this is because when Jay White debuted in AEW, it got revealed that creative had 6 months of shit written for him.
Yeah.
So
Before
they,
he had even signed a fucking piece of paper.
yeah, so they probably, as soon as Punk got hurt, they started rewriting, okay, well, we can't use Punk Seth.
Yeah.
Drew makes sense. Like as soon as they went, okay, Punk is injured, who we know who he was with when the injury occurred.
Mhm.
It worked out that it was Drew because it's obviously one of your big talent. So then it's a
Yeah.
thing of, okay, now you put Drew in the feud Punk was.
Mhm.
How do we get how do we connect the dots just a little bit more? But him standing there going like, Cody, you need to finish your story, win the title your dad did. It's like Drew has never given a shit about Cody Rhodes since the day he came back.
No.
It's like you're like as soon as he had that segment, I'm like, all of this feels like we've been getting worked
Mhm.
into feeling bad for Cody and happier that he's going back into it now, right?
Yeah. I think what would have made it truly work and we wouldn't have questioned it initially is if you do truly remove him pointing at Roman at the Rumble.
Yeah,
I think that is the key piece of the entire thing. You remove that, and he's like, "Who is Cody gonna face?" And he's just like, he takes in the moment. He's happy, and then like show ends. Then it's like he's probably still gonna face Roman, but we don't know.
yeah,
And then he does the face to face with Seth and everything. It's like, oh wow, he might actually just face Seth.
hmm,
But then it's like you do that. It's like it doesn't matter what's gonna happen. He's facing Roman, but what are we getting between that now? And turns out Dwayne's back. He is going to be probably wrestling at WrestleMania at a certain
yeah,
point. And our world champion, not our WWE champion, our world champion probably isn't too happy about it
yeah,
because here comes another part timer.
yeah,
And I appreciate part timers. I think part timers can work. I hate part timers that show up, take the spot away from the guy who's been there the last 3 Mondays, and he's
hmm,
gonna be there the next 3 Mondays
yeah,
or Fridays or whatever. That hurts me a little bit because it's
hmm,
like I know some of it's the animosity playing up as Seth, but I think it's like, can we stop with this? I am hurt, but I'm still here, and
yeah,
it's like I don't have to be here. I could just not make this appearance and be fine with it. But he's like, no, I'm gonna make an appearance because I want this title to be known. I
hmm.
want my name to be in the headliner. It's not going to be. It might be night one. I don't know, but he deserves better. And I hope the match of. I'm pretty sure we're getting Drew and Seth at Mania, right?
So here's the kicker with that. They
Mm-hmm.
just uploaded yesterday, I believe, like a teaser for Mania on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it, but I've seen snippets of it. And it's Seth Cody standing across from Rock Roman. And
Ooh.
ne- and so now people are like, so is night one's main event a tag
A possible
match,
tag match. Okay.
winner face Roman at like if Rock Roman win, they fight night two. If Cody Seth win, Cody gets his
Ooh.
shot.
I'd be okay with that. I think that can work, but the only thing that bothers me of it is like gambling your Rumble win it would be a first basically, which would be interesting to me. But like,
Yeah.
would Cody
But it's
like
one of those things of like,
do
yes,
it?
it's gambling your Rumble win, but it's also like possibly in kayfabe the only way the boss will let you do it now that Rock's part on TKO, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna work it, like they've kind of turned Dwayne into the corporate authority figure,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what they're doing now. So it's like now you almost have to go back to like the old fucking like old McMahon days. Like you think oh nine, like actually the snippet I think it was you that showed me that. You or Luke that showed me that snip of like old nine like oh nine heel Randy top of the
Yeah.
ramp talking to Vince and being like, all right, you want this, you gotta beat me and my son,
Hmm.
right? Or you gotta beat Shane or whatever it was, right? So like you could be running similar stuff of like, okay, Cody, you want a shot at my cousin's title? You gotta beat me and him. Bring whoever you want. Right. And if you
Which,
bring Seth, now you have that animosity of Seth Roman have a lot of history. Seth doesn't like the part timers like Rock.
yeah.
Cody doesn't have any love for either of them with everything that's happened. So it's a heated match that would absolutely kill night one.
Oh, for sure.
Have you heard the other crazy theory people have brought up?
I am very curious.
So during the press conference, you have the moment after the slap where you have the one person backstage interviewing Hunter, Triple H,
Mhm.
and then Roman, Rock, Heyman roll up, and Dwayne's looking at him. And dude, the guy on that censor button was losing his mind trying to keep up because Dwayne rolled up there just cursing a storm.
Yeah, I think it was like a bunch of shits and fucks, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so he rolls up and he's like, "This is bullshit. You know it's bullshit." And Hunter's like, "You were out of line for doing what you did." He goes, "To hell with that. I'm not out of line." He goes, "Either you fix it or we will." But the last thing that is said that is censored, they bleeped it from, like they cut it from the feed. But
Hmm.
people who were there, obviously they're going to hear it, so like people know what was said. Roman, or I believe it was Dwayne, looked at Triple H and said, "You're lucky you're not. You're lucky you're retired."
Hmm. No. I am gonna put a big X on that now. He's not Ric Flair.
No, no, no.
N-
So
Oh,
that's
okay.
the thing.
Okay,
Hunter,
okay.
Hunter. The theory is because people are like, "We're gonna get Rock Triple H." It's like, no, you're not. This dude is a pacemaker. Not
He
a chance in
knows
hell.
his
He's
limits.
smarter than that.
Yeah.
And once that argument came up, people went, "Okay, Triple H will go get somebody to champion the fight for him."
Hmm.
So we'll get Rock Austin at Mania. I'm like, why are you digging Stone Cold out of his ranch for this?
Yeah.
Stone
Because he
Cold
did.
hasn't been around forever.
Yeah, because I think he competed 2 years ago at a Mania with Kevin Owens,
Yeah,
which
him
was
and
surprising
KO.
because he was taking bumps and like everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it would make any sense.
No.
Like I understand. I understand like 10, 15 years ago, it's like 05, 04. It's like you could like reignite some sparks there, but it's like I don't think they've really truly like unless they're on like shows together, like former WrestleManias, like the way they do the whole like bring out legends type of like pop.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to do this
Well, but
anymore.
then I guess the only other argument being, and I think this is why so many people, because so many people are trying to justify their booking based on
Yeah.
what has been announced for the video game. Because the original idea was when Cody rolled up with Dwayne, it was like, oh, they brought back guest referee matches. It's going to be Cody Roman with Dwayne as guest ref to keep the Anawanis out of the ring
Hmm.
because they're bringing back guest ref match. So now the argument being, okay, they're doing 40 years of WrestleMania for the spotlight. Rock Austin have had, I'm pretty sure, a match or two at Mania before. I think.
Who, Rock and Austin?
Yeah.
3.
Three. So I think that's where a lot of people are pulling that idea of like, because if you look at it, like the people that Rock used to feud with, most of them aren't really around anymore. Like Batista hasn't been on the WWE television forever, minus
No.
the ads for his movie, like the Cabin in the Woods movie that was apparently awful. um, I've heard nothing but bad things about that movie,
No,
unfortunately.
no, no, no. I haven't seen it. I have no opinion on it. That's why I'm not saying
But like,
anything.
Batista's not around. Shawn Michaels sure as shit ain't getting back in the ring. Taker's not getting back in the ring. Triple H would actually explode if he went back in the ring.
I think again, it's the biggest thing of if Hunter wasn't in the condition he is in, like in terms of pacemaker and everything, 100% in a heartbeat
Oh,
he would.
100%.
But now, no, he's not taking a bump, guys.
No,
He's not stupid.
no. I mean, the best example of that, the proof that he won't do any of this anymore, is on the 30th anniversary of Raw, like last
Hmm.
year, like start of the year. And you had all but one DX reunion, and
Yeah.
Imperium rolled up and
Hmm.
talked shit about him. And then it was a thing of like, so we're going to have a fight? And, Road Dogg's like, I got bad knees. X Pac is like, I didn't stretch. Shawn Michaels is Shawn Michaels is like, I'm out of this. And they're like, all right, Hunter, you got this. He goes, dude, I'm retired. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, also, I want to pivot for a sec on that. Did you ever watch that segment?
I did. Yeah.
Can,
It's
dude, the fact
it
that
is
Kurt
something.
Angle is the fifth because Billy's in fucking AEW is the funniest thing. And he's like, I
And
always
it's
wanted to be a part of DX.
yeah, and it's one of those things where like they're just kind of like ignoring him as well because like he's
Yeah.
there, but it's like he's just filling a spot because
Yeah,
like there needs to be
he is
five
Billy
get
Gunn's understudy for this
yeah,
segment.
and I loved every minute of it because it's like Kurt's gone through hell with a lot of things in life, but I'm happy he's come out the other side, being able to smile, being able to like, just have fun with the things he's currently doing.
Yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
the biggest thing.
Dude, speaking of him, have you ever heard his answer to who he would want to have a match with if he was about 10, 15 years younger?
If I had to take, is this? I'm gonna say, this, is it current WWE or is it somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
I mean, it has to be like Okada, right?
No. Kurt Angle has said if he was back in if he was going in their prime versus in their prime, he would have loved to have had a match with Kenny.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's not surprising.
Dude,
That is not surprising.
Kurt Angle in their primes would be ridiculous, man.
Yeah. I could see that working, honestly.
Yeah, I could too.
Okay, let's see. Do we want to talk a bit about the chamber? Because I think there's only been like 2 or 3 confirmed matches, and then we'll wrap up with some Mania predictions, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, Chamber. We know for sure Chambers got the, I guess, number one contenders for Rhea's
Then
belt
yeah.
because Becky's going against Io.
So do you want to tell the people at home who we're pretty sure it's going to be because WWE released a photo of imagine I think all 6 competitors.
Yeah, it looks like all six. So yeah, so there's been a leaked image from their website, which I would not be surprised if is already taken down. But it's blurred out, so take it all with a grain of salt. But the idea as it sits is right now it looks like the six people that are going to be in the women's chamber match is going to be Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Naomi, and I believe it's Tiffany Stratton is her name.
I believe it is Tiffany Stratton, yeah.
So
And I
yeah,
believe currently we've only gotten 2 of the 6 qualified.
yeah, but apparently I also saw it looks like they might be putting the rest of like the qualifier matches. They're like posting them like on YouTube, like all the way through, or they're doing like contender matches to reach the qualifying matches or something on YouTube. It's weird.
Interesting.
They've been doing a lot more of that of like almost running like dark matches, but just throwing them up on their YouTube. But
It's not a bad idea, but it's like it's that's just interesting because they could be some great matches. But I will say the clicks for WWE on YouTube do phenomenally well.
yeah.
That's not an AJ Styles pivot. That's just I like using the word. But speaking of phenomenal AJ Styles, I do believe he is going to be in the men's elimination
Oh, hey,
chamber.
so I just looked to see what the card is right now.
Hmm.
There, it looks like, at least according to this website, keep in mind, who knows, right? But
Yeah.
looks like there might possibly be 7 people in the chamber match for the women.
So 4 in the pod, then 3 starting.
I think so. Because it's Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Zoe Stark versus TBA, 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 which could be,
That
you
would be
know,
7, yeah.
yeah. So you'd have Lynch, Liv, and then yeah, Naomi, Becky, Bianca, Stratton plus Zoe. There's your 7. So
Hmm. That's not a bad idea. Because I think with the Elimination Chamber, it's always had so many loose rules outside of once the timer counts down, a new entrant comes in. That's
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
I
that's
think
about
also you
it.
have to actually maybe you actually have to pin in the ring. I'm not for sure on that,
Yes,
but
it's still pinfall in ring, even though they have the outside, but it's pinfall inside the ropes, knocks you out of the chamber.
yeah, but outside of that, that's fine with me, honestly.
Yeah.
Who do we have confirmed for the men's?
For the men's chamber, I don't even see a men's chamber match on this side. Hold up.
I'm pretty sure there's got to be one for Seth's title. It would make the most sense. If I had to book it, I would probably put, of course, Drew in the match. I put Styles in the match. I probably put Balor in the match.
So nothing's been confirmed for a men's chamber match yet. Um,
That's
so
so weird.
what they could do with it though is, ooh, I think I know where they're going with this. I think they're going to
Hmm.
do what they did last year, where chamber isn't for a contendership for Mania.
Hmm.
Chamber is going to be for the fucking US title.
I could see that.
Because they did last SmackDown, so like 3 days ago as of recording,
Hmm.
they had a moment where Logan Paul went backstage and was
Yeah.
complaining that he's got to wrestle a match next Friday, so end of this week, against, it's a qualifier match. And he's like, qualifier matches are for those who are unqualified. And I love what he said, though. I love the way they wrote it. He's like, I want the Rock treatment. He goes, I want to be able to come in, talk, say some stuff, slap a guy in the face, back on the jet, and leave. And it's like the fact they're already playing into that. But even last year, they did, because Austin Theory defended the U.S. title in the chamber, because
This is true.
and that's what built to Logan and Seth at Mania, was because
Yeah.
Logan broke into the chamber, hit him with
Hmm.
a buckshot and a stomp, jumped out, and Theory retained.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they do the same, and these qualifier matches are going to be, all right, he's everyone he beats gets one more shot at chamber.
I could see that. You could
Right.
also have a lot of really good talent in these matches.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could probably have someone like, of course, you have Logan. You could probably have like Ricochet, KO, just a bunch of other talent that's on like SmackDown or Raw,
Mm-hmm.
depending. And
I
maybe
mean,
even if you want, because it's the crowd hates them, but I think it'd be fine for him. Even Dominic, I think
yeah.
the more exposure he gets in the ring is for the best. Truly,
Yeah, the only thing with that, though, is I feel like Dom's going to come out with Rhea because she's fighting Nia.
that's fair because that's she gets 2 WrestleManias this year, and I'm proud of her because A, they haven't been in Perth in forever, and B, they get a pay-per-view. It's going to be their Mania, and
Yeah, it is,
that
right?
eruption from the crowd is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I was so confused as to why they were going to run Nia. Right. But then it's like, okay, they're both from Australia.
Hmm.
They're going to run those two at
Is
it.
Nia from Australia?
That's what I've heard. They're both, it's, she's originally from Australia, I believe. Let me check.
I want to. I need to know this or not. It
We're
doesn't
fact
that
checking. Yep,
okay?
Sydney, Australia.
Huh?
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's why they're pushing it the way they are and why they've built this up the way they have, so that you get that. But looking at Chamber, at least from the women's side, since we know some of them, there's no way Becky doesn't win that. Becky wins it, gets her shot with Rhea. But this builds heat between Jade and Bianca for their match at Mania.
Yeah. I also, if Jade is going to be in this match, I want her to get a loss out of the way very quickly
Yeah,
because I don't want to see a repeat of undefeated. I don't think it's going to happen, but I
yeah,
will always say this, and I will say this with my whole heart and chest. I hate gimmicks where you have an undefeated streak. It's boring, it's
yeah,
bland. You're gonna lose at one point, and it's gonna be like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And then they never really do anything after that until they have to
Yeah.
build the story.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Takers was different because it was once a year. Like
Yeah.
undefeated at an event, I'm fine with.
Hmm.
Undefeated everywhere, don't like it.
Yeah. That I'm okay with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so stupid because it's like it happened with Asuka, she lost at Mania. It happened with Jade and she lost to Stat. But I think we knew she was on her way out was the biggest thing, so we knew she was gonna lose very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened a few other times, like I believe Miro, who was formerly Rusev, had the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like it gets old very quickly because you lose to a talent that's either like a surprise pin. It's like, wow, I can't believe blah blah, blah beat you, or you lose at WrestleMania to like the biggest challenger you have,
Yeah.
i.e., Asuka losing to I want to say Charlotte,
Probably.
and then Miro losing to Cena. It's like you know these two are gonna win
Mm-hmm.
because that was when Cena was still like full time, and then of course
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair.
And then, and looking at Cargill when she was in AEW, it's like anytime she showed up in a match when Statlander was injured, you knew there was never a risk of losing because everyone knew from the beginning Stat was going to be the one to take
Yeah,
Cargill's
it
title.
was supposed to be Stat before she got hurt,
Yeah.
and
And so they just kind of delayed it until Stat came back. So it was that thing of every time she was out there for a title match, you knew how it was going to end. It
yeah,
was going to be, anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes, one pump kick, jaded, count out, move on. The only
God
good
bless
feud,
them.
yeah,
No, go ahead. Go
the
no no
only
no. Go
good
ahead. Go ahead.
feud, the only good feud that I ever saw she have during the time that I watched her run was
Mhm.
when Nyla Rose stole the belt and started
Oh yeah,
flaunting it, right?
yeah,
Because that was, at least it was a feud that went on for a little bit, and it mixed it up a little bit.
yeah.
But other than that, it's
Because
like,
at that point, it's like you have to fight for something, but now you're not fighting for anything.
yeah. Also, the only
And
other
then
only other match that's up for Chamber, by the way, is Priest Balor for undisputed tag titles versus either British Strong Style, so Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, or DIY.
I don't. I think no matter who they're facing, I don't see them losing.
I don't
I
either.
think I think the tag division right now is in a very rough spot
Hmm.
because there's not a lot of tag teams that are currently like getting cheered a lot. I don't know
Yeah,
if DIY is doing well. I don't know if Strong Style's doing well. I know the Street Profits are doing whatever because they're more of a conglomerate with Lashley right
because now they're
now.
part of the Pride, yeah, which is not getting
So
over. So
can I just say that's not a great
I
name.
hate that name so much.
It's like the what are you guys? We're the Pride. I'm like nope,
No,
nope,
not
nope,
having it,
nope,
Chief.
nope. Doesn't work. But I think Mania is going to be explosive, and of course we're going to talk more about this over the coming weeks, like especially
Yeah,
post Elimination Chamber, and then following weeks that are coming up to it. I think you have the possibility of building a Stone Cold and Rock esque Mania match with Roman and Cody because this has been building for another year.
yeah,
I think you finally, of course, pull the trigger on this and you
you
have
have
Cody
to.
finish his story because I think after this, there's not really anyone on the roster that I could be like, oh, this is good. If it's The Rock, it's The Rock, and then we're in another fucking hellish landscape of a part timer holding the title. But I think you finish it here, and then at that point, you look at the roster and was like, oh yeah, this person can beat Cody, this person can beat Cody, this person. Sort of like the titles finally on TV, you're getting true contenders matches, you're getting a
Yeah,
full time WWE champion. Because as of right now, the only full time world champion is Seth, who is currently hurt, who is off TV, and well, he may be on TV, but he's not going to wrestle
hmm
until probably Mania. But
he's allegedly said he's like 3 or 4 weeks until he's back from it, but I don't know if that's fully recovered or at least just done with the
I
minimum.
I think it's the minimum.
I
I
need
think
him. I need
after
him to just not actually wrestle until Mania, so that he comes back at it 100%.
if he can put one more in the chamber and go with that and just have a fucking hellacious match at Mania and probably lose the title, I'm okay with that, honest to God. Because I think, because we haven't really talked about him at all.
Mhm.
I think that's building towards probably McIntyre and Punk at SummerSlam when Punk comes back
Yeah,
because
probably.
he's been talking way too much shit
I
for
love
Punk
it,
to be
man.
okay with it.
Dude, Drew McIntyre is doing career work right now, and I'm living
He
for it.
is putting in hand over foot just the best promos, the best merch, the best Twitter posts because it's
Yeah.
like, why not? And I will say this as well. My favorite part during the press conference is when it cuts back to the panel and it's Punk. He's like, I'd slap The Rock in the face right now. And in the background, you can still see The Rock just standing there. I'm like, oh, Phil, what are you doing, buddy?
Well, that was my favorite part because they had Big E there as well for
Yeah, they
press
did.
conference, and he's literally like, "I am here to make sure Punk doesn't get fired because he tends to fly off the handle." Like the fact that they're even referencing that shit now is really funny
Because
to
you
me.
have to.
Yeah,
Like, you honest to God have to. Do you have any, I would guess, closing thoughts at this point about anything that you're excited for?
dude, I don't know what to make of how things are going, man. Like before the news about Punk's injury came out, I had a clear picture of where we were going, right? Cody
Yeah.
would challenge Roman, Punk would challenge Seth, right? Bailey winning, everyone kind of leaned that it was gonna be Bailey versus Io, which
Mhm.
I didn't know a whole lot of it, but I was like, you know what? I can ride with that. Like all of it's gonna be solid. But like, and
Yeah.
then once it came out that Punk was gonna miss Mania, I was like, I don't know where anything's going anymore. Nothing makes sense.
You lost an ace right there. You lost a very key point of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Because again, I think Seth and Drew is gonna cook, but it was never gonna be Punk and Seth because
yeah.
those promos would be just those little pieces of gold you want. They're those little diamonds that you crave
Yeah.
for. Because I guarantee you, Seth wouldn't have held back, and I don't
We
think he would
know
ever
Punk would
said
have.
AEW. He would never said AEW, but he would have been like, "Yeah, you got fired for that other company." Because he did the same thing with Cody when
Hmm.
Cody came back over here, which was very nice.
Yeah,
Which I love when they don't hold back.
yeah. But yeah, it's just like the thing I am most worried for is the status of the fucking universal title. Like that
Yeah.
cuz the way I see it, it's one of those things of if you look at all the avenues that are potentially laid out there right now, it's like
Hmm.
you have the possibility of Roman Cody. If that happens, Cody wins, finishes the story. That is, for lack of a better term, that is the good ending to WrestleMania.
That is the good ending.
There are a lot of bad endings that exist as well. Bad ending number one, Roman retains. We're stuck with this for another year because he won't lose
Yeah.
that belt anywhere other than Mania. I live in a mentality that if you're going to have him lose that title, it has to be at Mania. So Roman retains for some way, somehow. Goes that way. The only good thing that comes out of that is possibly a solo betrayal somewhere in that, but I don't see it.
Ooh. I'd be okay with a solo betrayal,
I would
but
be too, but I want Solo to betray Roman so Cody wins, not so that Solo can go do his own thing while Roman
uh,
holds that belt for
yes,
another year.
I see, I see. Yeah, yeah.
That's bad ending number one. Bad ending number two is that we don't get Cody at all, and it's Rock Roman. And that's bad because either Roman retains and we're stuck with it for another year, or The Rock wins it and then either it's a different part timer holding that belt and doing nothing with it,
Mhm.
or the worst outcome, in my opinion, Rock beats Roman, Roman drops the belt, the Raw after Mania, and that entire 2 year build for Cody meant nothing, and Roman's entire reign means nothing.
Yeah.
That is the worst outcome for me in that. It's like Rock wins, he rolls up, he goes, I'm too busy being part of the board of directors. Have at her, and walks the fuck out.
I I don't ever see that being an option because it's like you're at that point you're spitting in the face of the fans. And you're just
You
like,
are.
fuck them. We don't care. We don't whatever. Because I think there's been rumors going around that the board doesn't care like what the fans think, which I think is utter bullshit. If you don't care what the fans think, you're gonna build a lot of artificial things that they are
Yeah.
not gonna like, and then they're just gonna stop buying pay-per-views and stop showing up.
Yeah, if you didn't care what the fans think, you wouldn't have pivoted to the press conference because people were refunding their tickets for Mania the minute The Rock did what he did with Cody on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So you
which
saw
makes
how
a lot
much
of
money
sense.
you were losing and went, we got to change this.
Yeah, but I think we have a bit of period of time because again, we are now I think a little less, a little over, no, a little less than 2 months away from Mania.
Hmm.
So we have a lot of time to build, but each week that goes by and we don't know what's gonna happen gets really scary because it's
Yeah.
like because I have a feeling it's like the full card's not gonna be done until like 2 or 3 weeks before Mania, which I think would be
Yeah.
bullshit because I believe Mania needs to be solidified maybe 3 weeks beforehand, unless
Hmm.
the main matches. I mean specifically,
Yeah.
not like the side stuff.
Yeah.
But here's one thing I want Mania to bring back, but this is not this Mania, this is future Manias. And this is one big match because I think this puts a lot of talent on the card each time. I think we need to kill the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and I think we need to bring that back to Mania and make it more special than it was.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I understand that puts in the place of you would need to book a men's and women's Money in the Bank. So that's why you would have to do two, which I know if you want to do a Money in the Bank on one night and a Money in the Bank on the next night, that's fine. But I think that's the only stopping point from not keeping it on as a. That's the only stopping point that's keeping it as its own pay per view is the biggest thing. But
Yeah.
that's the one wish I always want because Money in the Bank always felt more special when it was on WrestleMania because it's in front of literally the biggest crowd imaginable for this competitor
Yeah.
to win.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, that's the other fun question, man, is where or when the fuck does Priest cash that thing in?
I mean, it's one thing I've been saying though. If you want to do a heist of the century, do it against the guy that manifested the actual heist of the century.
Hmm. Well, and
Well,
that's the thing that kills me is he put out recently in an interview. He's like, it's hard to, like, because someone asked him about his cash, and he goes, "I'm confident I'll still be able to do it before the year elapse, let the year contract in it elapses." But it's
mhm,
hard right now when one of them's hurt and the other's not around much, and it's like,
that's
bro,
true.
you should have
That's the
like,
thing.
but you know, kayfabe. All right, I understand, but I don't think the contract states they have to be medically cleared.
No, you could just blindside them.
Like Seth's been walking out there 2/3 busted up, like they're
The
damn
amount
near
of
airlifted him into the ring, and you're not walking out here going whack, ref, tap, done. Like,
the amount like the amount of times it's like post matches where they've been just beaten down and like technically probably not medically cleared in kayfabe to compete, and they still cash in. It's like
yeah,
just cash in. It doesn't matter.
yeah, like I almost in my head the idea of it, like not to the same extent, but like that contract to me has always felt like the idea of this essentially. If I give the ref this and say go,
You
that
go.
immediately starts a match regardless of circumstance. Like it's almost like it turns that belt, whatever belt you're going for, into the 24/7 championship until the bell rings again.
Yeah, the ref is not gonna be like, no, they're not medically cleared. They can't. No, it is. I'm cashing this in. Let's fucking go, and then they go, and that's it. It's
Yeah,
never been
cuz like
like
great moment to have done that would have been when Drew headbutts Seth last week. Cuz Drew literally just crack, walk out, and then music hit and he struts on out there with the two tag belts and the rest of the Judgment Day just there to laugh. He struts up with a ref like under his arm, throws the ref in the ring, throws the briefcase, dives in, goes, "Here you go, do it." Puts a high boot on Seth, who's still reeling from the headbutt. One, two,
yeah,
three, walk out with the title, have the world
because
heavyweight, two tag titles, roll credits on SmackDown, call it a day.
he's never been like a morally like like a character that's like,
He was gonna
oh yeah,
cash in during the fucking Survivor Series match.
that's what I'm saying. It's like you've never been a character. I understand this is an interview, and it's like you're gonna give the a true response, but you've never been someone who's like, you know what, I don't want to do this. Like you beat up Art Truth after he's being nothing but nice to you.
Yeah,
You're definitely gonna beat up Seth, who's face down in the ring, not like conscious at all. You don't
yeah,
care, but
yeah,
I don't know. Drew's gonna be Drew. We're gonna hopefully see Damien cash in. I think it would be funny if we reach like Money in the Bank, and it's like, oh shit, right? and he cashes in like right before the other Money in the Bank match. But that's not gonna happen. But I think it'd be funny.
So honestly, though, like if we look at it from that sense, maybe the Judgment Day does lose those tag titles at Chamber.
Yeah.
Because if he's not carrying gold, that's a lot more incentive to use that briefcase.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, if you're a champion, why fucking bother? So he could either. What might. Oh, I wonder if that's how they split the titles. They lose at Chamber to be it DIY or Strong Style.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately, like, oh, this would be fun. Balor, because those contracts they've said before are for any title. It doesn't have to be a world title.
Yeah.
It's any title. So what if Judgment Day lose, Balor takes the pin, and Balor's like fucked up after that match.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to be a more serious moment, he call the briefcase in and he grabbed the briefcase from Dom and go, come on, let's do this. Cracks the winners, puts it in and goes, I want one of those belts, I don't care which.
Hmm.
Him
Because
and him and Dom take one half, and that's how you finally split the tag titles.
because I
Or the funnier way to do it is Priest is there, like, I can't believe we lost. Balor's like got stretchered to the back, and Truth runs out and goes, come on, you and me, we can do this. Gives him the briefcase. He goes, let's get one of them back. And then
because
Priest and Truth are tag champs, and Balor's like, what the fuck happened?
because I think that's necessary as well. I don't understand why like the tag titles are unified. Like I understand the roster doesn't run too deep, but the one reason the roster doesn't run too deep is like you only have one set of tag titles to go after.
Well, and it's
It's
not
just
even
the
that it's
biggest
one
thing.
set. It's two tag titles, but they're on one team. You
Yeah,
either
yeah,
need
that's
to
what I'm saying.
unify them. You either need to unify them into one belt and then give the other brand a new set of belts, or you need to split those belts between brands again.
Yeah, no, fully agree. Because it's like I hate when it's like, oh, I'm a like as you all may see in the coming few days or whatever. We ran into that issue yesterday with someone who was a double champion, and it's
Yeah.
like it's so unnecessary because
Mm-hmm.
it's like a double champion only brings trouble for booking, and it only brings trouble for the title holder because it's like, aha, I'm this, but I'm also this, and I feel like when it comes to two different titles specifically, the main title should always hold more weight than the tag titles
Yeah.
because it's like I'm holding this with you, but this is also just mine.
I mean, that was the beauty of Better Than You, Bebe. Two Ring of Honor tag team champions, one AEW world champion.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a thing of they had to work together for the belt they both wanted to care about.
Hmm.
But one half of that team still really wanted the other. And there was always that little animosity in the back.
Yeah.
And God, that is. He's done a lot of bad booking. That from the Blind Eliminator tournament until World's End was some of the best storytelling Tony Khan has put out.
I hope nothing for the best for the Undisputed Kingdom. Right now, they're wading water a little bit. Like you're moving like slowly because
They're getting
you
there,
don't
though.
want to go. They're getting there. You don't want to go after Joe immediately. You're going after Cassidy because the biggest thing is I don't think it's full ferocity because Adam isn't cleared yet,
Yeah,
and that's the
100%.
biggest thing in the world. The
100%.
moment Adam is like cleared, all right, you can go now. Then everything ramps up to an 11.
So going on that though, couple of things that I want to say on that because I really want to make the comment on this. So the thing I love about what they're doing right now
Hmm.
is they are building Wardlow as a monster,
Yeah.
but they're also building him as essentially the junkyard dog, in which they've got the chain and he can only run as far as they let him go. And
Hmm.
part of that is from the last match he had. I can't remember who he fought. The last match I watched from him. He goes to prep the powerbomb suplex. And Mike Bennett and Matt Taven go, no, 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 do the thing. And they basically convince him, rather than doing the 15 suplexes, to hang the guy from his feet on the top turnbuckle and drop him into the high knee that he's doing.
I love that move so much.
I don't super care for it, only because
I,
it
I
looks like, only because he hasn't done it a lot, so he's a little awkward with it still.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
it's a
if he can
timing
get
issue.
it down, like when he was doing it a lot before, depending on the opponent specifically, it looks like money because it looks like a true knockout move.
Yeah.
Like if you could put someone completely out, it'll look great. But I think you can't really do it against like bigger talent is the biggest thing
Yeah.
because it's
The
like
other
he'll like
thing, the other thing he did in that match
awake
that I
him.
adore, because, and I never mentioned this on the first episode, but I was training to be a pro wrestler, and I do plan to go back once I'm in better shape again. But
Mhm.
one of the things my coach always talked about was when it came to, he had a old student that came from France whose English wasn't the strongest, and they wanted to teach him the idea of like, when you're holding, if you're the heel and you're holding the guy in the corner or like over the ropes, and the ref's
Yeah.
yelling at you, to count back at him, to be an asshole.
Mhm.
And the coach looked at him and was like, do it in French, I don't care. So the ref would go one, he'd go two, three, trois, and he was counting back in French. It was really good. But the thing Wardlow did in that match, where he's literally got him like he's choking him up by the rope, and the ref's counting, and he's just not even looking, he's doing, and just counting along with
It
him.
is that cockiness and arrogance.
Beautiful. It was so perfect in that moment. I
So
love it.
good.
So we're sitting at about an hour 40. Do you want to throw out maybe just a couple of Hail Mary? What do you want to see at Mania before we wrap then?
Yeah. I want to see. I'll leave it at 3. I want to see
Yeah.
3 things at Mania. I want to see the Usos against each other. I
Yeah.
know we might see the IC title match. I think this is when, if you're going to do a lot of bloodline stuff, you're going to do the biggest match possible. This is the time to do it. We
Yeah.
got that heavy tease at the Royal Rumble.
Oh my
Give
god.
me that. You've done it before in the past. Make it no disqualifications, or make it a I think they
The
actually had a
tribal
name.
combat.
The make it a tribal combat match. It's the same thing, but it's different. Um, give Sammy another moment.
Fair.
Because Sammy is, again, it is one of those things where it's like he's around but he's not around, and I think this is not because of Cody. This is not because of Seth or Roman or whatever. Run the spot back that you did last year, page for page, word for word, where everything happens. Cody gets spiked. He gets speared. The match is done. He kicks out this time.
Fair.
Give me that moment where you fucking know it's his dad willing him on.
Yeah.
It's, even though his brother might not be there, his brother willing him on to finish the fucking story, and just have that moment where it's not even like a full like kick out. It is literally just that shoulder, just enough to where it moves, and like you give that moment of true disbelief from Roman, and you put that panic, and it's like, you know, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat this man now. Give me that.
Yeah.
Because I think the crowd would go crazy. I think we'd go crazy because I know
Oh
we're gonna
yeah.
be watching it, and I just think it's gonna be just a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. So my three, and I'm kind of going on the mentality of like what I want to see by the end of night 2 of Mania. These are three things I want to see. Obviously, I want Cody to finish his story, but that to me is a
Mhm.
given. I think outside of that, I would love to see. I agree, Jay Jimmy is definitely up there for me. I want Jay versus Jimmy. My caveat
Mhm.
being, again, I want Rikishi as guest ref or nearby at least, like involved some way in the battle of his two sons, because I think that
Yeah.
would be, or two of his sons, I should say. I think that'd be great.
Mhm.
Give me, give me the collapse. Maybe not the collapse, but give me the payoff of the animosity within the Judgment Day,
Yeah.
because they have teased this and played around with this for so long. Even if it comes in the form of, and I'll kind of, this slash that kind of thing. If you don't
Mhm.
give us the collapse of the Judgment Day, give us the start of it, in which,
Ooh.
and when I say the start of it, I go back to when Priest got his new briefcase and they left the
Yeah.
old one in the back. I still sit in the
Ah,
theory that Balor moved the
okay.
contract to the old one, and he's been keeping that shit hidden so that when Priest goes, even though they've never looked in that briefcase before, he goes to cash in. He wins the
Yeah.
match. The bell rings. He grabs the belt, and then the announcer, like Samantha, goes, "This match doesn't count. There is no contract in that." Balor's music hits. He runs out and just smokes Priest. Cashes in with the original briefcase. Takes the belt from Priest. I think that would be a beautiful moment to run.
I have one more, just a small one.
What you
If he's
got?
competing at Mania, depending on the match or whatever, this is involving Dominic. It's like he's about to win or whatever. Maybe like it's a ladder match or something. Maybe they put like the IC title or US title in a ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Ray costing Dominic. Run that
Oh,
back one more time.
yeah, that'd be fun. And I think my third thing that I would want to see by the end of Mania is it's so tough because there's so much that I'd want, but I think another big thing that I would want to see, like ending Mania going into this whole kind of new year of it all, if I'm being 100% honest with it.
Hmm.
Oh man, I don't even know what I'd want to see. I wouldn't hate seeing Sammy and KO get back together in some sense. I think that'd be fun.
I'd be okay with that.
But I think honestly, if I'm gonna give me give me a setup, not the actual payoff, but give me the setup in which we have the possibility of running Seth Roman the following year.
I would be okay with that
Whether
because
it's
the
they
thing.
both lose their titles and then it's whatever, however you set it up. But I think, because obviously, like you said, whenever Roman loses that belt, we don't know what we're going to do with him. The only thing I want him to do after the Bloodline story is done is I want
Mhm.
one more match with him and Seth before either of them call it quits.
Yeah, because I believe I again I could be wrong. I don't think Roman's ever truly beaten Seth
No.
clean, and I feel like Seth will always have that over Roman, and I think it's amazing because like
Mm-hmm.
the last time Roman lost a match before like well losing a match and like taking a pinfall was Seth when he just choked out Seth to the point where they had to call the match
Mm-hmm.
because he couldn't beat him, so he
Yeah.
just choked him out. I was like whatever. I was like, it made Seth look good. Of course, it made Roman look good. It's like, but like, it's still there. He
Yeah.
still didn't beat him. But that's what I
Mm-hmm.
want to see. And I
Yeah.
think Seth face Roman heel would work wonders for that.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I think Roman also has one more face run in him. But who's to say?
You got to do a lot of separation before you can bring him back as a face.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
Because
think.
you've ran what basically since COVID at this point as him as the heel head of the table, right?
Yeah, I think it was at this point since his title win.
Yeah.
He's well, maybe even before that, but like specifically like his first title win, he's
Mm-hmm.
been a heel. So it's like might as well run him as if you're gonna run him as a face, you've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
But
Also, post Mania, give me Braun Breaker call up to main roster.
oh yeah, I think we're gonna have to do a special on that. I think after
Yeah.
Mania, before I will probably will do that week where I would do like Mania and then like possible call ups the next week because
Mm-hmm.
it's the start of a new year for WWE at least.
Yeah.
Even though it's like April, it's the start of a new wrestling year for them.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's where we will wrap today. So thank you all so much for watching as always.
yeah,
If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment. If you've got any things on your WrestleMania wish list you want to throw in there or any shots you want to call 2 months ahead of time, see if you're right, throw them in
yeah.
the comments.
Hi Phil, get better.
And we'll see y'all gamers in the next one.
Bye.